Absolutely. We had a great one that started in January. This was a 90-day, what I call a very intense engagement. We were on site basically for the first 3 months of the year.
Wow.
Continuous operation manufacturing. So this is not piece parts, but this is this giant machine and it just runs. Experiencing a lot of downtime, shift to shift problems. Shift A was better than shift B today. Shift B is better than shift A to tomorrow.
Sure.
Or communication and handoff. And during that 90-day period, we had double digits improvements in quality and throughput and downtime.
Wow.
And again, there certainly was some Lean Six Sigma work that we did in there, some tools that we applied. But again, it was that clarity of let's get everybody on the same page. What are we looking at? What are the metrics? Why do they matter? And most importantly, why you should care about them, Mr. and Mrs. Operator, right? What do
Yeah.
they do for you? And the ROI on that was close to 12 to 1 annualized.
Hello and welcome to the Manufacturing Connector, your gateway to the future of manufacturing. Our mission is to empower manufacturers with insights into the latest innovations transforming the industry. Each week, we bring you cutting-edge case studies, expert interviews, and in-depth demos of the tools, technologies, and techniques driving manufacturing forward. I'm your host, Jim Mayer, and today we're joined by Beau Groover, president and founder of the Effective Syndicate. Since founding TES in 2015, Beau has dedicated his career to helping organizations and individuals in the manufacturing and supply chain sectors become more effective through Lean Six Sigma and leadership development. With over 2 decades of experience, Beau has served in various leadership roles, including Director of Lean Supply Chain, Director of Manufacturing, Plant Manager, and Master Black Belt. In today's episode, we'll explore how TES addresses the critical challenges of improving operational efficiency and leadership in manufacturing. Beau will share real-world examples of how TES has driven double-digit improvements and returned millions of dollars to companies across various industries. We'll also get a detailed look at the strategies and tools TES uses to build high-performing teams and enhance overall effectiveness. Let's dive into how Lean Six Sigma and leadership development can transform your organization on the Manufacturing Connector. Hello, Beau. Welcome to the Manufacturing Connector. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Ever since we first got connected, I knew this was going to be a great episode, and so I'm really excited to chat with you today. Beau, as you told me in our initial conversation, your story, it's very fascinating, man. I'd love for you to give a brief background. What were you doing before 2015 and you started TES?
Absolutely. I've had a fun career so far. I've loved most of it. There's certainly been moments where wasn't exactly, it was more of a love-hate relationship, but
Yep.
my career really started in warehousing and supply chain on the logistics side. I had a few different roles there. And then in 2000, I joined a manufacturing company as the inventory control manager. Just about the same time, the CEO of the company read the book Lean Thinking. And he suggested we all read it. And as you know, Jim, when the CEO suggests you read a book, it's like, great idea. Let's read the book.
Let's read the book. Yeah, absolutely.
And so in my role as inventory control manager, obviously I touched a lot of facets within the organization and just fell in love with the idea of lean. I volunteered for the lean training, started facilitating the Kaizen events that we were learning how to do and just figuring things out, and really, just a blessing that right place, right time. Did that for, I guess, 8 years, became the full-time lean implementation manager for that organization.
Cool.
Left there during the 2008 downturn when we all changed jobs, most of us unexpectedly,
Right.
and joined another company as the Master Black Belt for a $1.2 billion division for that organization. I was there for about also 8 years, left as the Director of Manufacturing. And then I spent a very brief period of time as the director of lean supply chain for a large mattress organization. I was only there for a short period of time. A lot of things going on at the same time. And again, divine intervention, a guy that I had met years earlier called me and said, "Hey, can you help us with our manufacturing? We're struggling."
Yeah.
And just right time, right place. I left corporate America and started the Effective Syndicate in 2015 and been working on this ever since.
Yeah. So tell us more about the Effective Syndicate. What problem do you solve, and tell us a brief history of the organization itself.
Sure. So we approach Lean Six Sigma maybe a little different than most, meaning that there's a lot of consultants out there, and there's some really good ones and there's some really bad ones, as in the industry. So I'm not like throwing shade at people, but
No,
there's
no, I get it.
different degrees of effectiveness. And our approach is that you have to harmonize the cultural aspects, the leadership, the people engagement, the change management aspects with every bit as much intensity as you do developing the Lean Six Sigma skill sets and training and doing the Kaizen work or DMAIC projects. So we approach our customers very much with a holistic look. You've got to take care of your people. If you want your people to do these new, hard, difficult, challenging, changing processes, they got to care.
Yeah.
And if you don't focus on that people side, it feels like lean is being done to them. And what we want it to feel like is it's being done with them.
Yeah.
And so that's the problems that we solve are, how do we do it safer, better, faster, cheaper to facilitate organizations to grow? One of our fundamental beliefs is that if you're not growing in business, you're dying. There's
Sure.
no there's no steady state. We're going to hold here. You can't
Yeah.
hold here. There's no such thing.
Yep. Absolutely. And change management is a tricky thing as well, right? You always want people to believe that it's authentic and that they have authorship of that change in order to truly buy into it, right? Is that the experience that you've had as well, Beau?
Absolutely. And it's not as hard as people make it, Jim. Right. So if I'm on the shop floor and I'm, second shift operator and you're coming to talk to me about change for the sake of shareholder value or market domination, or I don't care. I just
Yep.
don't care. It'd be cool if I did, but I don't. But if we approach it from, hey, Mr. Operator, Mrs. Operator, what makes your job hard?
Yeah.
What makes you frustrated at work? What makes you know that there's a better way, but you're working around our crappy system? And we come at it this humble way of saying, "Hey, we want you to like what you do here, man. We value. We're glad you're here. Thanks for coming in and working so hard and being diligent. What makes your job suck?"
Right.
Buy-in is not an issue when you approach it that way, because now if I'm again the operator and you come in and help me solve my frustration, when you come back to me and say, "Hey, can you help me with this problem?" I'm already bought in. You
Yeah.
help me, heck yeah, I'll help you. I'm glad to. Let's do this.
Absolutely. And along those lines, you have to take that operator's input, right? Well, a lot of times we see so often in meetings in those kinds of forums, the operator or whomever out on the floor will give an idea on how to make their life easier, and management just ignores it. And that's a really easy way to stop getting ideas from people down on the floor, right?
Yeah. Can I tell you a quick story, Jim?
Please do. That's what this show is all about, Bo.
I love it. So I was touring a potential client that I didn't actually land, but I was talking with an operator, and he was under this giant piece of equipment, and it was like a cave. And I asked him, like, what are you doing here? What are you working on? And he showed me he's looking at these things and checking these gauges and doing all this stuff. I'm like, man, how do you see? He's like, it's really, really hard. And I said, well, why don't we get you a light? And it just, all the energy just drained out of him. And I'm like,
Ignore.
oh man, I just stepped in it. I don't know what's coming next. He said, I have been asking for a light for weeks, months. I can't get a light. So I took the plant leadership that had brought me in to lunch.
Okay.
And on the way back, there's an Ace Hardware. I said, guys, give me just a minute. I'm sorry, I got to run in here and get something. So I ran in and got this guy a light with two magnetic hooks and an extension cord.
Mhm.
And they're like, what's that? And I was like, oh, don't worry about it. We got back to the plant. I'm like, hey, I need to run ask somebody something. out on the floor. I'll be back in 5 minutes. So I ran out there, handed him his little bag of goodies, right? So it was
Yeah.
two magnetic hooks, a light, and an extension cord. And Jim, you would have thought I just saved his firstborn child from drowning. He was like, man, thank you. Now, from a leadership perspective, I would have asked him, why didn't you get your own darn light, dude? I mean, it's
Yeah.
25 bucks. I didn't.
Right.
But there's that, just what you're describing is where people are asking for help and we just don't respond, or we're too busy, or we dismiss them, or whatever happens. Pretty soon they'll stop asking. Pretty soon they'll
Absolutely.
stop having ideas like, all right, you want me to shut up and do my work? That's what I'll do.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's not the place that I think anybody wants to work, right? So I
Yeah.
think that dives into that deeper, more root cause of what you do is you're not just enabling those people to share what they want or need to do their job more effectively. You're helping in the long term with turnover and retention and things of that nature. Am I wrong?
No, 100%. You're hitting it right on the money. And
Okay.
people, this new generation don't want to work. If I wish I had a dollar for every time I'd heard that. And it's like, I think you might want to spend some time in the mirror because they don't have a place to plug in. They don't
Yeah.
feel welcome. They show up day one and they say, here's your safety glasses, here's your badge, bathroom's over there, go work with Joe and they'll get hurt.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I can't connect. So I show up for a couple of days and now I feel like the odd man out and I just
Yep.
leave. And then
Yep.
you blaming me because I don't want to work. No, I don't want to work there.
Yeah, exactly. And that, how many times do you walk into a shop and they'll tell you that so and so left at lunch, just didn't come back, they were on their 2 week trial or whatever, and they just never came back from work one day. Well, that's you just described that reasoning. It's that connectivity, right? Awesome. So what kind of companies does TES work with?
Yeah, so we've got a pretty broad coverage. We focus on three primary areas, that is metal fabrication, original equipment machine manufacturers, and packaging.
Okay.
We've got deep, extensive roots in those three categories, and we've branched out, and obviously warehousing. We've done a lot of work with warehousing, but those three manufacturing areas are pretty much our sweet spot and where we're focused on finding new customers.
Awesome. So what's the process look like? You've got a warm lead that comes in. What's first on the list of the process for you, bud?
A phone call.
Okay.
We want to talk with them, and it's not a sales pitch, right? So if I feel like I'm talking somebody into working with me, it has never gone well, right? I've been doing internal and external consulting for 25 years, and when I'm having to convince people, it's awful.
Yeah.
And so it's really just kind of like this. It's just hanging out, man. What's going on? What are you working on? What are you struggling with? What's keeping you up at night? And they describe what they're dealing with, and we say, all right, here's how our system works. Does that sound exciting for you? Does that sound like something you'd like to learn more about? And if the answer is not heck yes, then it's heck no.
Sure.
And so it's that first phone call to figure out, can they vibe with me? Am I somebody that they feel like they can relate to, they can trust to turn loose in their organization and engage their workers? And if the answer to that is yes, then awesome. Then it's generally a follow-up on-site visit where we do a tour, we look at some numbers, some KPIs, maybe the profit and loss statement, depending on where they are with their struggles. And then it's, let's make a plan and get after it.
Okay. So you've been doing this now. I had to do some quick math in my head. About 9 years, right? Through the TES group. That's a long time. You probably have a pretty neat batch of case studies, and this is one of my favorite segments on this show is hearing the results of my guests and the impact that they're having out on the floor. Do you have a couple of case studies that you can share with us?
Absolutely. And try to keep them like quick and succinct, right? Because you
Yeah.
don't want to know how the sausage is made, just how does the sausage taste, right?
I love it.
So one of them I'm really, really excited about was an interim operations manager for a large distribution company coming out of COVID.
Okay.
So it was just a madhouse, as everybody remembers how fun the pandemic was. They reached out, we had some conversations, and they brought me on, and I showed up, and they were about 3 weeks behind.
Wow.
And very demanding customers, a large number of shipments in and out every day. This is a 24/7 sort of operation. And it's one of those where it's even kind of hard to describe. So as I'm trying to look at their processes and see how things work and how do they receive and put away, how do they pick, pack, ship, and do all of the mechanics, I was talking with the person that brought me in, and I said, you guys look at your orders a lot of different ways. One of them is by shipment request date. One of them is by dollar value. One of them is by customer. And there were probably a couple of other ones. And so I said, what's the number one?
Mm.
And he said, well, they're all number one. And I said, okay. And it's kind of a cute way of saying you haven't set a priority, right?
Right.
And so the organization didn't have clarity. And so every shift would figure out what they wanted to work on, right? So first shift might have been working on dates, second shift might have been working on dollars, third shift might have been working on customers. And so upward to him, I'm like, all right, I got it. We'll keep working on them all being priorities. I huddled the team up, the frontline operators and department managers and shift managers. And I said, guys, we are going to focus on date. Go find the oldest order and you work your way until currents, right? So we're still trucking along with everything we can get out today, but anything that's old, we're going to catch up.
Yep.
And within 4 weeks, Jim, we were pulling ahead. So when I got there, they were 3 weeks behind.
Wow.
And within 4 weeks, they were caught up and pulling ahead. And it's not because I'm the maestro. I got so many accolades. Oh my gosh, such a turnaround. It's like, guys, it's just clarity. The team didn't know what play we were running.
Yeah, that's in essence going out onto a football field and the receivers, the running back, and the quarterback all running different plays.
It's exactly what it was. It's
Wow.
exactly. So
Wow.
that
That's a
was a
pretty neat
fun one.
win. Yeah.
Well, and it's part of when we get to our methodology, you'll see clarity is the very first step, right? So that big takeaway was, all right, do all of our everybody in our organization understand what play we're running?
Yeah.
And that's we start and we stay there until we figure out what play we're running, and then we can cascade that message. And I mean, there's so much positivity that comes out of that first simple step. So that was
Awesome.
a very impactful case
Yeah.
study that was foundational to our system.
And how long ago was that?
What
With
was
COVID,
COVID?
you said? Yeah.
2022.
Okay. Wow. So fairly recently, how often do you run into organizations that are lacking that clarity? I mean, is it fairly often?
Almost every time.
Wow.
And here's a great litmus test for you guys listening to this. If you go ask 10 people in your organization, what are we trying to do? Will you get the same answer 10 times or will you get 10 different answers?
Yep.
And you just pull people aside. Hey, what are we trying to do here? And what happens, right? There's no malicious intent. There's no badness. It's I'm so focused on what I'm doing. I'm going to give you an answer about my little piece of the puzzle
Hmm.
without thinking about what we're trying to do as a team, right? As a team, we're trying to win the football game.
Yep.
But I'm the special teams guy. I'm worried about how do I make the punt go longer than 35 yards so I can get field position. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. All right. What are some other case studies or success stories you have?
Absolutely. We had a great one that started in January. This was a 90-day, what I call a very intense engagement. We were on site basically for the first 3 months of the year.
Wow.
Continuous operation manufacturing. So this is not piece parts, but this is this giant machine and it just runs. Experiencing a lot of downtime, shift to shift problems. Shift A was better than shift B today. Shift B is better than shift A to tomorrow.
Sure.
Poor communication and handoff. And during that 90-day period, we had double digits improvements in quality and throughput and downtime.
Wow.
And again, there certainly was some Lean Six Sigma work that we did in there, some tools that we applied. But again, it was that clarity of let's get everybody on the same page. What are we looking at? What are the metrics? Why do they matter? And most importantly, why you should care about them, Mr. and Mrs. Operator, right? What do
Yeah.
they do for you? And the ROI on that was close to 12 to 1 annualized.
Holy
So
smokes! I'm rarely speechless, Beau, but that's a massive stat right there.
thank you. And the beauty is, right, they should continue to get that every year after, right? So you pay for it this
Wow.
period, you get your ROI in this period, and then everything after that just continues in perpetuity unless you let the system fail, right? So
Sure.
we implemented our standard work, our system, our huddle meetings, and as long as they maintain it, that extra, I mean, this was a seven-figure number, that extra seven figure will come through every year in perpetuity.
Unbelievable. Holy smokes. All right. Well, do you have another example or another case study, or do you want to jump into a presentation? What direction do you want to go, Beau?
Yeah, I think if you're okay, let's jump into the presentation
Let's
because
go.
there's four simple steps, Jim. And if anybody out there wants to talk with us, obviously we'd love to talk to them. But if not, go apply these four steps. I
Perfect.
guarantee you your career, your work, your team, your operation will be better if you just practice these four steps.
Perfect. Looking forward to it. Let's go.
So, one of the things that you and I talked about when we first met, Jim, was the process side and the people side.
Hmm.
And one of my colleagues, one of my partners, is a organizational psychologist. So his method of looking at it was, hey, if you get people working together and communicating, they'll figure out great processes.
Yep.
And while that's mostly true, it's not completely true. My perspective was if you get great processes in place, people will figure out how to work together. And he's like, well, that's mostly true also. So we both agreed that we're mostly correct. But we got to have both components, and that was the jettison of us figuring out, hey, it's people plus process is where greatness happens.
Yeah.
So after years of wrestling with this, we call this the GSD system, and yes, it stands for Get Shit Done. Um,
We're all adults here, man. I love it.
yeah, yeah, thank you. And it's very much to the point. So what I want to do is just kind of walk you guys through it
Yeah,
and
please.
explain how it works.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So over the years that we've been practicing, we've learned that most companies struggle with one or more of these three primary gaps. One of them, they don't know what to do or they don't know what to do next.
Mm.
They don't know how to do it or they don't have the ability, just the ability to get it done.
Yep.
And so our system overcomes all three of those to enable improved performance, both short and long term. So while we're helping you rapidly improve, we're also putting in that sustain mechanism to help it keep going in perpetuity,
Yeah.
and setting them up for ongoing continuous improvement, which is where our heart lies, right? Life is about continuous improvement, so is work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the four steps, if you look at the little infographic there on the right, what every organization wants is growth. I want to grow my market share. I want to grow my profitability. I want to grow my team. I want to grow my skills. So it's all centered around growth. And the four steps that I hope everybody takes with them are clarity, teamwork, discipline, and energy. And very quickly, I'm going to go through this. So this is not death by PowerPoint, I hope. Uh,
Well, and I'll jump in if I have any questions too, Beau. So this will be interactive.
please, thank you. Please. As we just talked about with the case study, clarity. So we start with what we call a master planning session or a strategic planning session, which is really what are we trying to do and why does it matter?
Yeah.
Again, to bring the people into it, the whole workforce, not just the managers, not just the people with title, but what are we trying to do and why does it matter to us organizationally? What does it mean for me, the second shift operator, working at midnight on this piece
Hmm.
of equipment in this sweaty hot manufacturing plant? Why do I care? And so we go through this planning session that really lays out the roadmap of what we're going to do. We work in 12-week sprints,
Okay.
right? So it's not, hey, let's plan for everything we're going to try to do in 2025 because we don't have any idea what the end of 2025 looks like. We barely have an idea what the end of this quarter is going to look like.
Right.
And we lay out a roadmap and say, all right, this is what we're going to do in the next 12 weeks. What's the timeline, milestones, KPIs, all of that stuff. So now we've got a message to take to the organization. Hey guys, we're going to start doing this. Here's why it matters. Here's what's in it for you. And one of the important features of this is it's also what are we not going to do?
Sure.
And
So are
that is
you? Are you taking feedback from the employees themselves in order to build out that roadmap?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. I like it.
Uh, As much as possible, we have frontline operators in the meeting with us when we're laying this thing out. So they're in there saying, hey, man, downtime really sucks. It makes our life hard.
Yeah.
But ironically, what we see more than organizations not doing enough is that they're trying to do too much.
Uh,
And
okay.
so everybody's incredibly busy, but nothing's really changing, right? We're just really, really busy.
Yep.
So that's step one. Some of the features of this, I guess, are the performance feedback. How do the organization know if we're winning and losing? What is the communication system? We like to look at employee standard levels and a career path, right? So I've been
Yep.
here for 7 years. I'm an operator. Can I grow from here? Can I make more money? Can I take more responsibility?
Yep.
And we as leaders own that, right? We want our people to buy in, but we don't too many times, not all the time, but too many times we don't give them anything to buy into. So here's your
Yep.
roadmap, Beau. You want to grow, here's your opportunity. You want to stay here and because you just love operating, that's awesome too. But it's a choice now.
Absolutely. Yep. Because every organization needs both of those people, right? Every organization needs somebody that, pardon me, wants to grow, but at the same time, they also need people who love just being an operator. They love clocking in at the beginning of their shift, getting their job done, clocking out, going home to their families, coming back and doing it the next day. Not everybody can grow and accelerate within an organization, so that takes both sides.
100%. And again, they're now involved, right? So I'm giving
Right.
my team members the chance to say, look, hey, where are you in your life? Where do you want to go? What makes you happy? What makes you excited?
Yeah.
That's a really good question for me as an employee to get asked by my boss. Where do I want to
Absolutely.
go? Probably hadn't thought about it in a while.
Absolutely. I love it. Cool.
Okay. So step two is where teamwork comes together, and we use a tool called an X matrix. It's very common Lean Six Sigma tool. It's been around for decades, so it's not new.
Hmm.
But the idea here is that we're converting this kind of big picture plan from the strategic plan into actionable items, like specific roadmap items.
Yep.
And this enables us to cascade the plan into the organization and also cascade the metrics. So it's okay, if you and I are running a company, it's okay for us to be worried about market share and revenue growth and some of those things that the operators generally don't care. But
Yep.
how do we turn that into something that they do care about? So when they
Absolutely.
go home, they feel like, you know what, I had a good day today. I hit my numbers. I did what I was supposed to do. I'm going home with all my fingers and toes. I can go
It was
home
a
and be
good day.
present now as a dad or, a husband or whatever the other roles that they have are. So super important. Obviously, there's the interaction piece, the collaboration of how do we work up, down, and sideways.
Yep.
Um, and then in that 12-week sprint, we're reviewing our roadmap every week.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So that accountability word that we hear from almost every organization, we're not good at accountability. Few people are.
Right.
Here's a scorecard we all agreed to. How are we doing? Are we on pace? Are we off pace? And if we're off pace, it doesn't mean, hey, let's beat the crap out of Joe. It means, all right, Joe, what's going on? Did
Right.
we have a bad plan? Was it a bad idea? Has something changed? What do you need from us as your leaders to get those roadblocks out of your way? A completely different dynamic,
Yeah.
right? Because now Joe, in this case, our operator Joe, is a part of the plan. He understands what we're doing. He understands why it matters. And I'm not beating him up because he's behind. I'm saying, Joe, how do I help?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Step three is discipline. And this is not discipline as in writing people up. This is like operational discipline. We said we were going to do these things. Are we doing those things? And if not, what do we do about it?
Sure.
We see a lot of cases where when the crap hits the fan, we've got a pissed off customer, we're behind, we throw all of our processes out the window. Just get that thing out the door and we'll come back and clean it up later. Later never comes,
Yep.
right? It's
Absolutely.
like free beer tomorrow. That
I'd
sign
love
drives
to
me
know where
nuts.
that is.
That sign makes me crazy. But this is where we introduce what we call traction or training plus action. So there's a lot of places where you can go get your green belt in a hotel lobby.
Yep.
We have not seen that to be very effective versus, hey, we're going to train you in your operation, then we're going to go to your shop floor and fix your problem.
Yep.
Right. So as somebody who's trying to learn, all right, I've got all the noise and distraction off. I'm watching and I'm listening to this in the classroom. Then we're going to go out and solve my problem that I've been wrestling with for 3 years, and it's done in a week. I'm feeling pretty darn excited. I'm
Yeah.
liking what we're doing here. I can buy in again. That buy-in part comes in.
Absolutely.
And this is, again, creating feedback. So when our operators go home, we want them to know that they had a good day. How do you know if you win or lose? One of my favorite questions in every plan I ask the operators, how do you know if you had a good day? How do you know if you won or lost today? And this is part of that sustainability mechanism, Jim, where we're training the folks on how to do continuous improvement,
Cool.
right? So as a professional problem solver, I want the customers to engage me with the biggest, ugliest, most painful problems they have
Yeah.
while I'm developing their team to work on those day-to-day kind of nuanced things that are a pain in the neck. They may not be worth $1 million, but man, it sure would make his life better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Very cool.
Um,
I love that model too, because how many shops have you been in where you're just a line, one in a line of many consultants that they have invested in? And so what you're doing is you are working obsolescence, right? You're working to make your role within this facility obsolete. And that's what somebody in your role should be doing. You shouldn't be working to necessarily extend this for a decade, right? Which we do see. I mean, you and I shared this space a little bit, and we both, I know I've seen it, and I'm sure you have too, where there are consultants out there doing lean, doing Six Sigma, doing leadership development, and they are just building out their next run within the organization, their next engagement, whatever that may look like. I love that you are planned obsolescence for yourself, but giving the tools to see future success out of your clients.
Thank you. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we talk about when we start our engagements, our job is to work ourselves out of a job.
That's awesome.
And when we know when we deliver value, they're going to call me back the next time their dragon shows up, right? They've got their team capable of handling the little problems, the medium-sized problems, but oof, I'm going to need some help there. Our team has built credibility because we've delivered results while we're
Yep.
developing their team. That's okay. There's plenty of business out there. There's plenty of room for continuous improvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to supplement this, we have a completely virtual online green belt,
Wow.
right? So if our customer wants to do standard work and 5S and Kanban pull systems, that's really what they need to improve. There's still a body of stuff if they want to, become more versed in green belt. So we may not have the time or bandwidth to focus on those things because we're fixing their problems. Hey, your team or the people that you select can still go through and finish their green belt training if
Very
they want
cool.
to become green belt certified or just pass the knowledge test and get a green belt certificate. It's focused on developing them as an organization, not just, as you said, I'm going to be with you for a decade.
Yeah. Well, and I love that, Bo, because that's something that I work with organizations on a lot, is creating these career development plans, and creating that what's next in the learning and development space, or how do we get somebody the training that they desire, and that's applicable to their job. And a lot of leaders don't know how to do that. A lot of individual contributors don't know how to do that for themselves. They know that they want something more, but you're providing them a tool to supplement exactly what you're doing for them, but you're giving them that training to be successful on their own. Maybe not with the dragon, but the little things that come up on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis.
That's right. That's, that,
That's
that's
awesome.
exactly right.
I love it, man.
Well, and then the last one, ironically, certainly not last in need, but it's what we call leadership energy, and this is where we're trying to move to a shared ownership model, a shared leadership model. So the people on the floor feel responsible, not
Yeah.
accountable, responsible for how things are going. And basically, the way we see it is we're coaching your coaches,
Yep.
right? We do things like extreme ownership. If you're familiar with that book from Jocko, the five dysfunctions of a team. And what we see, and I don't think it's going to change, is what happens in a lot of these smaller manufacturing organizations and even the bigger ones. We'll take a great operator and make him or her a manager or supervisor or lead, but there's no development on how to communicate. There's no
Yep.
development on empowerment and engagement and accountability and trust and all of those really, really important things. So this one is kind of the underlying theme. This is really where the people skills, one of my pet peeves is people, he's not good at soft skills. That's because they're really damn hard.
They are.
They're not soft.
But they all discount them, man. That's what pisses me off about it. You and I'll go into rant. I think I may have shared it with you last time we talked or the first time we talked. But man, yeah, the way soft skills are discounted in any industry, but specifically skilled trades, drives me bonkers.
It's so important, and our education systems are not good at it. I'm a dad, and I do my best, but I'm not good at it. Neither one of my sons can listen to me until it's like when they finally hit the wall, or it feels like they're out of options. Then they're like, "Hey, Dad, can you help me?" I'm like,
Right.
"Dude, I've been waiting. I've been here. I'm ready."
I love it.
So this one then feeds back into clarity, and the beauty, again, the takeaway, Jim, is it's these four questions. No matter what project you're doing, if you're thinking about opening a new location, there's four questions. You want to know how today's shift is going to run, four questions. You want to open up a new piece of equipment because we're going to go into a new industry, there's still just four questions. And from a organizational effectiveness, what we're trying to do is say, all right, if I'm an operator and
Mm-hmm.
I know these four questions, you want me to be a lead, all I got to do is ask the same four questions at a slightly different level. Now you want me to be a supervisor, same four questions at a slightly different level. So all of this facilitates this growth that we're after, not only of the business. So we're making more money and we're hiring more people and we're beating the competition and having fun. But now I've got this organizational culture that's based on these four things, and it's just over and over and over. It's this iterative process. So every 12 weeks, you go through a planning session. What are we going to do? What are we not going to do? Who's on the team? What are they working on? Are we using our processes? And then you got to bring some energy. Manufacturing's hard, change is hard, teamwork is hard, the supply chain is hard. So if you're not ready to bring the energy day in and day out, you might not be the right leader for the job, because it's
Yeah.
going to be every day you got to bring it.
Yep. Absolutely. I love it. Wow. I love I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I love the simplicity of your system, Beau. And that's not meant in a disrespectful way at all. You have made this stupid simple, and I love things that just make sense when you talk about them, right? And you've done a great job with this framework.
Thank you. And that's one of the highest compliments you could give me, Jim. And I mean that sincerely, man. When I took greenbelt training the first time, it was 80 hours of classroom training. 80,
Uh,
80.
That's ridiculous.
It's undigestible, right?
Yeah.
And so back to our methodologies, like, all right, we took all of the stuff that you could learn about greenbelt and said, what's the most commonly used, most impactful, and simple tools that we can apply? Because that'll fix 95% of them. And if it's a 5% problem, you call somebody like me.
So, Beau, what do you have anything else in your presentation for us?
Just kind of the reach out, right? The ask.
Cool.
We see a lot of companies that feel like they're running on a treadmill, right? They're just running, not getting any better, not getting any worse, just kind of treading water,
Yep.
or playing whack-a-mole, right? Every day I come in and I don't know what I'm gonna have to whack on the head, but I know it's going to be something. Or Groundhog Days, like every day it's the same problems, it's the same conversations, it's the same
Yeah.
projects that we're talking about, but nothing's ever really moving.
Yep.
And so, any of your folks who are like that, we'd love to have a conversation. Again, it's not a sales pitch. I'm not going to try to talk anybody into working with me. I'm an acquired taste.
Man, if
You're
you're an
either
acquired
jive with me
taste,
or you're not.
if you're an acquired taste, then I haven't gotten a full like spectrum of Beau, because to me you're a really easy guy to get along with.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, we're all working hard, Jim.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard. You know, life is hard, leadership's hard, change is hard. Running a damn manufacturing plant is hard. And if anybody tells you it's not, they're either lying or they've really reached a pinnacle that I've rarely seen in 25 years.
I So how do people get a hold of you, Beau?
Yes. So our website address is tes.run. That's Thomas Echo Sierra.run. And my email address is beau, Beau, at tes.run. Just shoot me an email. I'd love to have a conversation and see how things are going. I always learn stuff when I talk to new leaders and find out stuff that helps us make ourselves better, right? So we're pretty big fans of continuous improvement ourselves. So we're always looking for new and better and smarter ways to do things.
Awesome. And I'll link it in the show notes as well, as and you're on LinkedIn as also. Am I
I
right?
am all over LinkedIn.
Awesome. So I'll connect you to people who are watching, viewers. I'll connect you to Beau's LinkedIn, his email, and the company website below, and hope that people reach out to you, Beau. So thank you very much for being on. This was a pleasure. I loved hearing about it, and great presentation, man.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed getting to know you, Jim, and I would look forward to an opportunity for us to collaborate on something because I think our energy, our vibe is pretty in sync. I bet we could make good stuff happen.
So thank you. Uh, Folks, thank you for joining us again on the Manufacturing Connector. I hope that you found today's episode to be super practical, if anything else. Again, a special thanks to Beau Groover from the Effective Syndicate for sharing his expertise and demonstrating how Lean Six Sigma and leadership development can seriously drive significant improvements in your manufacturing or supply chain operations. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. Let's try that again. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. Hit the bell icon to get notified every time we release a new video. I'd love to hear your thoughts and questions in the comments below. What challenges are you facing in your Lean Six Sigma journey, your leadership development journey, and also what topics would you like us to cover in future episodes? So stay connected with us on social media for more exclusive content and updates. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And remember, folks, at the Manufacturing Connector, we're here to empower you with the latest innovations and insights in this awesome world that is manufacturing. Join us next time as we continue to explore the future of manufacturing one solution at a time. Until then, keep innovating, keep connecting, and let's see the future of manufacturing today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.